Okay, good morning, everybody, and another round of coffee and questions. And like I say, no long intros. I had a friend over, and he was wondering what I was doing with some of my sandpaper. And I do a lot of sanding on the lathe, and when I'm doing wood projects, I do a lot of hand sanding. So I'm not talking about, the ones with the Velcro backing and all of that. I'm talking about when you buy sheets of sandpaper. I don't mean from Harbor Freight. I mean you buy decent quality sandpaper. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's. The auto supply stores carry decent quality sandpaper too. You buy them in sheets. You can actually, when you're rubbing these, depending on how you're rubbing them and stuff, they start to come apart on you, the paper. So I said, look, here's a quick fix. Let me show you what I do. And I took him over and I grabbed this. Let me show you real quick. Okay, so what I do is I figure out the width that I'm going to use for my hand sanding. If I'm block sanding or anything like that, I get some duct tape and I put a strip of duct tape down the back. Or I put it 2 wide or 3 wide or whatever I need. Then I take a pair of scissors like you see in the picture and I cut along that line. And what that does is it increases that backing so that you don't go through it so easily, like if you catch it wrong or something like that. So it increases the longevity of the sandpaper. Now, the other thing I've noticed that it does, if I'm doing a lot of contour sanding, these are a little bit more pliable and bendable, to the form that you're sanding with that, that duct tape on the back. And you're able to hold that curve better as you sand it. So all in all, this is a good tip if you want to extend, like I said, the life of your sandpaper if you're doing hand sanding. This isn't something I've done on machines or anything like that. It's just for block sanding, hand sanding. But like I said, your first step in this whole thing is make sure you get good quality sandpaper. Buy it online. I buy mine at Klingspor. You can get it on Amazon too. 3M makes a lot of outstanding, sheets of sandpaper. And I usually get it in the grit range of, sometimes I get like 80 grit, 120, 150, 220, 320. And those are usually what I have on hand because depending on what I'm sanding, I go through my grits kind of in that way. I don't exceed the number 50 at a time. So if I'm using 80, I would go to 120. From 120, I'd go to 180, 220. From 220 on, you're okay to take a bigger jump. Then you can go to 320, from 320 to 400, from 400 to 500, and so on. So in those lower grits, I try to stay within that 50 range, just as a general rule of thumb. Now, the other thing I'll tell you is these don't work that well if you're wet sanding. They will work with emery paper, and they'll still do the same thing. But with emery paper, I tend not to worry about it. Because when you're using, whether it's mineral spirits or some other solvent and you're sanding, I seem to be able to get the pliable that I need out of it on the contours and everything else, so I don't worry about it. But I didn't want to make this a long video. It's not a discussion on sandpaper use. It's more of a tip for you to extend, like I said, the life of your sandpaper. So I hope you enjoyed the tip. Give me a thumbs up, click subscribe, and I will see you again soon, folks. Thank you. Bye-bye.